work our way out. Okay, so here's a schedule of what we're going to be covering today. So first I'm going to give you some information about Royal Holloway. If you haven't been on one of these talks before, there's a little bit of repetition, but hopefully it's still really useful information for you. We're then going to look at student life costs and the different types of loans that are available to you when you're a student. We'll then look at some bursaries and scholarships and some real life examples. So Royal Holloway, let's give you some information about us. So contrary to our name, Royal Holloway, University of London, we are not actually in London, we're just outside. We are 40 minutes by train to central London, but we're also in the countryside. We're really, really near to Windsor, Englefield Green, Twickenham, Virginia Water, and as I said, just a stone's throw away from London by train and car. We are the top 22nd university in the UK, with 88% of our students saying they were satisfied with their university experience. We've got over 250 courses that you can study, split between 20 different departments. This is all available online, by the way, and kind of on our online prospectus, which I'll link you to at the end of this session if you want some more information on that. On the left, you'll see a map of our campus university. And if you're not sure what that is, a campus is basically where all of the buildings related to the university are in one space. So it's where you live, where you meet your friends, where you go to lectures, do sports, etc. And you can see on our map there that all of the purple buildings are accommodation where you would live should you come to Royal Holloway. The blue buildings are the academic buildings where you'd have your lectures or seminars, and the red show the social areas like cafes and other places where you might meet your friends. As you can see, we're also really, really lucky to have so many beautiful green spaces around our campus. And if you've ever seen photos or kind of driven past or been on campus, you will know just how lucky we are to have such a beautiful university, but also so near to local towns and the city. So kind of referring back to student finance, I know that university can seem like a really expensive thing to commit to. And don't worry, we're going to talk in this presentation about how that can seem a lot less daunting once you break down each area. But first, before we do that, I wanted to make you aware of the benefits of why lots of people think it's such a worthwhile experience. So firstly, it's all about making new friends, and they can be from all over the country, different places in the world. You're going to make long-lasting friendships with people that you would normally never meet. Second is learning new skills. And that's again from your degree that you study, the people that you meet, maybe the societies that you would join. At Royal Holloway, there are over 110 clubs and societies, so lots and lots of places for you to learn lots of new skills. Third point is about becoming an expert, and again, that can be specialising in an area of your degree, maybe for your job or an expertise in a kind of in an employment sector, or it could be for further study if you want to carry on and do a master's or PhD. It could also be becoming an expert in that club or society that you join. For example, you could, I don't know, be a DJ for a student radio, you could learn how to write amazing articles for the student newspaper, you could even learn a new language as part of your degree or as an extra to your course. Studying abroad is such a massive benefit of going to university. So certain degrees let you kind of travel the world with the course to work, study, or go and work in a school, for example, in another country. So I did this for my degree, and I have to say it was one of the best kind of life-changing experiences. And it was something I was really, really looking forward to when I was in school, and it certainly lived up to expectations when I did my degree. Work experience is a massive part of going to university. So you can do placement years, kind of work experience placements as well. Kind of year in industries are really big at some universities, and especially at Royal Holloway we are massive on volunteering in the kind of local community. So that could be raising money for local neighbourhoods, working with schools, etc., etc. Now, living away from home for some people might not be what they want to do. They might want to stay at home and save the money and commute, and that's absolutely fine. Loads of our students do that, but you might want to live hours away from your family. You might want to start fresh, yeah, and anything from those options or anything in between is amazing. It's all about gaining that independence, learning how to cook or to commute, to budget, and that's things we're all going to be talking about today. Clubs and societies, as I said, there's over 110 at Royal Holloway. This could be, joining a group for your subject to make similar, friends with similar interests to you, or it could be something that you've never done before. Royal Holloway is really good at having these events called Give It a Go, and that's just trying out something new that you've never done before and seeing if you like it. The last point I'm going to talk about today is job prospects. A massive part of going to degree is, of studying for a degree is improving your job prospects. And it's really important to note that some jobs do require a specific degree. For example, to be a dentist, you have to have studied dentistry. But it's also worth noting that lots of employers do ask for a degree to just apply for that job. It doesn't necessarily matter what it's in. So, having kind of seen those benefits, hopefully that's opened your mind to a few more kind of advantages of going to university. So let's hear from one of our students. Hopefully we can hear her a little bit more clearly now. Sophia, I have unmuted you. If you unmute yourself, are you there?
Hello?
Hello, yay, we can hear you. Fantastic. I don't know what happened there, but it's really good to hear you. So, Sophia, please can you give us a bit of information all about you and your experiences?
Of course, yeah. Great. So, yes, I'm Sophia and I'm in my second year at Royal Holloway and I'm a history student. I'm originally from Milton Keynes, so for me, it wasn't a massive move to uni. I actually chose a lot of London unis to look at, but the reason I chose Royal Holloway as my first choice was that I loved the idea of being at a London university and being so close to London, but also being able to get away from the hustle and bustle and retreat to a beautiful campus with a lot of green space in the surrounding areas, and I just felt a lot safer here. In my first year, I actually lived in Founders, which is the beautiful building that you can see on the screen. And a lot of my friends from home refer to it as the castle or Hogwarts. And that's actually the reason that I chose to live in it. But it is a catered accommodation, so that means you get your food in a dining hall as opposed to cooking everything yourself, which can be a more expensive option, but there are other things such as sharing bathrooms that you guys will need to consider that might actually bring the cost down. Now I live in a house with 4 friends because I rent in second year, which is one of the options, and this means that this year I'm having to do all of the cooking, which is a blessing and a curse sometimes. When I was in your position, I was very lucky to also have access to events like this, which taught me about budgeting and my options considering finance. So I wasn't too worried about going off to uni, but I still did a lot of research and made sure I did all my applications on time and things like that. And however nerdy it might sound, I actually really enjoy organising my money, and I'm really excited to talk to you today about what it's like to budget at uni and what you need to start thinking about regarding finances.
That's fantastic, Sophia. Thank you so much. And Sophia is going to be with us for the whole of the call. So if you do have any other questions for her, please do hold on to them until the end, and we'll revisit that, and she can answer some of your questions about student life, actually speaking to a current student. And if you missed that to begin with, Sophia is a second year student ambassador, so she works for us as a university, and she's studying history. Right, fantastic. So we'll come back to Sophia later. Now let's look at student finance. So just checking you can still hear me, that's good. Now you might have heard a lot of bad press about the cost of going to university, in the news and things, but hopefully today I can do a bit of myth busting about this topic, and talk about whether you think, university is worth it for you, but also talking about how we can make university a bit more affordable as well. I just want to point out that the cost of uni should never be a reason why you don't follow your dreams, because there are so many different types of support available to you. No one is expecting you to be a millionaire right from the offset and pay for things out of your purse or your wallet. There are so many different means of support available to you that I'm going to talk to you today. So it should never be a reason why you don't follow your dreams if this is something you want to do. Okay, so there are 3 main areas that we're going to be looking at today. Just get through my lovely animations. We have got the tuition fee loan, which covers the cost of your course. We've got the maintenance loan, which covers your day-to-day living. And then we're also going to look at, as I said, some kind of methods of affordability like scholarships, bursaries, and part-time work. Okay, but first, let's have a think together about what a student might need to buy. So I'm just going to give you a minute to kind of type in any ideas as they come to you. So you don't have to make a massive list, just chuck in as many ideas as you can of all of the things that a student might need to buy at university. What might you need to buy? Let's have some suggestions and I'll read some out. Resources for subjects, great. Clothes. Okay, about 5 people have just put food all at the same time. You guys are on the same wavelength as me. Yeah, fantastic. Paying for rent. That's something you've probably never done before. Furniture. Okay, interesting. Furniture is an interesting one because sometimes it will be there for you, but sometimes you might have to bring along bits and bobs that you want to. Social life. Yeah, fantastic. So spending money on going out or, socializing in the day. Toiletries, yeah, so important. Cleaning supplies, I think lots of students forget about cleaning supplies. I used to go and visit my sister at uni and they definitely didn't have any cleaning supplies there. Yeah, stationery, so important. And books are coming through. Even people saying things like laptops and different brands that you might want to spend. Yeah, absolutely. I was one of the only people in my university lecture hall who didn't use a fancy laptop to make my notes. I've always been a pen and paper kind of girl. But yeah, definitely loads of really good ideas coming through here. Laundry, someone's just said as well. Yeah, that's something you've probably never considered. You might be very lucky that your parents still might do your laundry for you. And actually, this is something you're going to have to learn how to do. Going to a laundrette. Yeah, fantastic. Okay, brilliant. So let's have a little look at some of the ideas that I've thought of, and you guys have thought of even more than me. So it's things like food, travel, and that could be, around the country, it could be traveling abroad, or it could just be traveling home from uni. Books and equipment, yeah, we've talked about that. Subscriptions, that might be, your Netflix subscription or to a gym, a magazine that you subscribe to, whatever it is. Accommodation, yeah, so that's that renting that we were talking about, either in halls or a house share or a flat. Toiletries, cleaning supplies, all those kind of things. Laundry, we've talked about. Trips home. Tuition fees, that's obviously a big one we'll talk about. Bills as well. You might have never paid bills before, and that's something, a really, really, really valuable skill that university will teach you. Clothes, yeah, for me, that's a bit of a nightmare. I'm kind of going through a theory at the moment that I have to get rid of clothes before I can buy new ones, otherwise my wardrobe doesn't fit more. And going out, as we said, socialising, either daytime, nighttime, trips with your friends, etc. Okay, so what we're going to do, bearing those kind of aspects in mind, is a little activity about student budgeting and affordability. So this activity is for you guys to guess how much you think a student would spend on an average month. And to help you out, we've given you a pie chart here, which shows the approximate amounts and ratios of how much the typical student spends on the following areas. Now, this is based upon the most accurate data from 2020, so very, very current, on an average student, but from all over England, okay? For instance, you can see on the right there that rent is by far the most expensive outgoing, followed by food, and then it kind of goes around in a clockwise direction from the most to the least expensive. As I said, you can download this if you want to try and write on it or type on it on Microsoft Word, or you can just have, jot down some notes on your phone or whatever. And what we would like you to do, or what I would like you to do in about a minute or two, is just to have a think to yourself about how much the following categories are going to cost. How much it's going to cost for an average student in 1 month. If you just kind of make some notes, you don't need to type anything into the chat for now, and then in about 1 or 2 minutes time, I'll just ask people for to kind of type out their ideas. If you are getting a bit stuck on this and you're like, I have no idea how much things cost, that is completely fine. You potentially have never had to budget like this before in your life. What I would recommend you do is try and have a guess at the total first, and then try and split that up using that pie chart. Okay. If you've got any questions, please do pop them in the chat and I'll try and respond to you. It is 16:19, so I'm going to give you about 2 minutes, 1 to 2 minutes, just to have a little think by yourselves, and then I'll ask for some feedback shortly. Okay, good luck. About 30 more seconds. Okay, fantastic. So, what I would like to do first is, can we have some suggestions for how much you think is the total amount? So don't break into the different categories yet. How much do you think the total amount for a student budget is going to be? Okay, so we're getting 1,000, 2,000, 4,000. Yeah, per month. Yeah, sorry, per month. Okay, so considering all of those things, how much do we think? The moment the highest we've got is 4,000 and the lowest we've got is 1,000. Remember, this is an average for the UK. Okay, another thousand's coming through. Okay, all right then. Oh, a little bit lower. We've now got an 800. Oh, someone else has gone a bit higher again. Okay, so what I would like you to do, maybe just pick like one or two and just throw them at me, how much you think some of these different areas might cost. I think some of you are going to be quite shocked at the result. It's going to be a bit of an eye-opener. Okay, someone's saying about rent's about 550. Yeah, and that will definitely change, you know, wherever you are going to be in the country, potentially, or the type that you choose. Yeah, very, very similar about rent there. Grocery is about 150 a month, phone's about 30 a month. Someone's saying food, 150. Yeah, okay, you guys seem to be on exactly the same wavelength with each other. That's really good. Okay, someone's gone back up to 1,000 a month. Good, yeah. Going home £40. Yeah, I mean, that's completely dependent on where you go, isn't it? So that's a tricky one to kind of balance out. But yeah, really, really good. Okay, you guys are very much on the ball. Fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to give you the responses now. Thank you so much for all of your suggestions. They are fantastic and you're very, very close. So the total average monthly student budget is about £785 per month. Okay, and obviously you can see there the rent is by far the biggest, that's £418 a month. This is on average, of course. Obviously, if you choose to live in a mansion, it's going to be a little bit more expensive. And then you can see there, yeah, you guys were bang on about food, £100, going out about £46, depending on your kind of interests. Transport, 43. The person who said 40 was pretty much bang on. Bills about 37. Yeah, we can see takeaways, obviously 33, etc., etc. Okay, gifts £12. Well, it's going to be difficult in the next few months, but who knows? Yeah. So now this is just a general overview, and this is of course going to be different for every single individual, depending on where you live, what your financial situation's like. You know, do you have savings or a job? What kind of person are you? What do you enjoy doing? For example, you might not want to spend any money on takeaways, and actually you prefer, you know, using your money elsewhere. But hopefully this does give you a very kind of rough average, and a bit more of a kind of a realistic view of how much you can be looking to spend every single month. You might think that's quite a lot, okay, and that again, that would be normal, but we're going to show you how that can be broken down soon and what student loans are for. Just to show you that in another way that's quite similar, really. So about 60% goes on your accommodation. Again, depends on the type and where you live. 16% on food, that's about £40 to £60 a week. Social life, again, about £50 a week. Again, someone was spot on there with their guess. Transport, depending on where you're living. And books can be potentially really expensive. But I'm going to go through some of these kind of categories and tell you how you can save a bit of money on each of them if this is kind of panicking you a little bit. So housing, remember, that's, you know, the massive range there from £3,500 to £7,000 a year. It depends on the type of place you want to live in. You know, do you really need an ensuite, or are you quite happy doing a shared bathroom? You know, can you live with your friends, or do you want your own place? Food, you know, if this is seeming like quite a lot, do you need the most expensive branded food, or can you make do with the supermarket own brands? Social life, what is really important to you? If you want to do that trip somewhere, you know, what are you going to cut down on to make some space for it? Transport, again, this is being a student is really beneficial here because you get loads of kind of rail cards and discount cards for being a student. And obviously, depending on where you live, this could be zero. You know, if you can walk to uni, that's great. You're not spending any money, which is amazing. Books, I think, is a really big one because university books can be quite expensive. The best thing to do is use the library. Secondhand marketplaces like on Facebook and kind of other secondhand bookshops and things, charity shops are amazing for that, and there will be so many around because everyone buys the same books for the course. Again, you know, use online resources and journals as much as possible, and you'll get to know this when you get to uni. Okay, so what else can we do? So a tuition fee loan, the maximum a university can charge per year for a course is £9,250. Okay. Now, the majority of students will take out a tuition fee loan with a student loans company, and this is paid directly to the university. I'm sure you can understand why this isn't paid directly to you. I think a lot of people, if they suddenly got £9,000 put in their bank account, you would have a field day. Okay, so this goes directly to the university to make sure that your course is covered. All right. So a maintenance loan, however, does come to you. This pays for your cost of living, so your day-to-day kind of living costs whilst you're at university. You're paid this in 3 termly instalments, and you also pay this back with the tuition fee loan when you graduate from university. I've put some figures here of how much you could be entitled to, and just to let you know, this is for a full-time course, so it's slightly different if you're doing part-time. Now, this money, as is for the maintenance loan, does go straight into your account. So this is the money that you have to be kind of mature enough to budget throughout the year. So you are given however many thousands, however many thousands of pounds it is for your maintenance loan, and you need to budget and work out how much you need to spend in certain areas and then make it work. All right, and this is a really kind of big learning curve for a lot of people going to university. So you can see there it says up to for each of these areas, and that's because the money that you'll receive for your maintenance loan depends on your living situation at home and your family's financial situation as well. If you're living at home, you obviously get a lot less money because you won't need to pay for rent and things. And depending on where you are in the country, also changes the amount that you will receive. Royal Holloway, as you can see from the little picture and arrow there, is classed as a London university, so you can get the maximum amount if you were to come to Royal Holloway. Woohoo, that's more money for you guys. So how does the repayment work? So imagine you've gone to university, you've done your maintenance loan and your tuition fee loan. Unfortunately, you then need to start paying this back. So you start repaying your loan when you're in a job earning over £25,000 a year. So if you come out of university and get a job and you're only earning, say, £20,000 a year, you pay £0 back. You don't pay until you earn over £25,000, which is really, really helpful. If your salary drops below £25,000, your repayments do stop as well. If you never earn over £25,000, you will never have to pay back the loan. Payment is automatically deducted from your payslip each month. So that's really important to note that you never see the money, like you never have to actually pay it voluntarily. It just automatically comes out on your payslip. So I have my payslip for last month and there it is, student loan, vroom, gone. I just don't see that part of the money, which is kind of good in a way, so you don't have to part with it, it just goes automatically. And outstanding loans are written off after 30 years. Okay, so that's really, really good to know in the back of your mind that after 30 years, it will be wiped for you and you don't have to pay back any more. So how much will you be paying? As I said, if it's under 25,000, you pay zero. And when it gets to 25,000, your yearly salary, you will then pay approximately £30 a month. Okay, which to be honest isn't that much when you think about, that's a Spotify and a Netflix account joint together. Yeah, it's not that much in the grand scheme of things. And as I said, it just automatically goes, so you don't even really notice it, to be honest. When you start earning bigger amounts of money, the payments do increase. Up to over £55,000 a year goes to £255 per month. But then obviously you're earning a bit more money, so again, hopefully that won't be as noticeable for you. Hopefully this is all making sense so far. If you want some more information of this, because I know it's a lot of kind of numbers on a Friday afternoon, there's some really good websites out there for you. Studentfinance.gov.uk is amazing. This is where you will register for student finance and the loans. so you can have a little look there. And there is a kind of a step-by-step guide on there that you can see on the right-hand side, to check if you're eligible, see how much money you could receive, and if you can get any extra help, and then all the way through, through the steps until you finish university. And then unfortunately step number 8 is repay your loan, the step that no one wants to see, but it's the reality. I'm seeing a few questions come through. That's great. I'm going to probably come to them at the end if it's going to help everybody else, if that's okay. This is the student room. Now the student room has got loads of forums and discussions to help you make any decisions. And this is kind of from one student to the other, as well as some articles. So really, really helpful, kind of personable responses to help you out. And as you can see there is a whole section just dedicated to student finance. But again, if you're not sure about something and it's just a little bit too one-to-one, do check back to the official government website, because that's where you're going to be getting, the money from. Okay. There is also UCAS, which is obviously where you'll apply to university, but they do have a really, really helpful section on there about student finance and support, with some really kind of nice videos, and it's really accessible. As you can see there, lots of lovely colours as well to brighten up your day when talking about student finance. Okay, so before you apply to different universities, you also must see what type of bursaries, scholarships, grants and allowances there are. You can see the kind of different types of allowances on the right from Royal Holloway, but there are so many bursaries and scholarships I could not fit them onto one PowerPoint slide. So if you do want to check from Royal Holloway, please do just go onto your search engine and type in undergraduate scholarships and bursaries, and the whole list of the amount of money that you could receive is on there, okay, for you to have a look at, because there's so many different ones. So we're just going to have a look in a bit more detail at bursaries and scholarships, as I said. Grants and allowances, you can see some from Royal Holloway on the right there, and again these are available at lots of universities. And we're going to also have a little look at student discounts and part-time jobs. Okay, so firstly, scholarships. So scholarships are quote unquote free money. This is money that's given to you and you don't have to pay it back. So this is not like a loan. You get the money and it's yours to keep. This is for many different subjects. People don't tend to know about scholarships, so it's really, really worth checking with a university. Are there any that apply to you, and would I be eligible to apply for them? Give it a go, yeah? You've got nothing to lose. For a scholarship, you normally have to meet certain requirements related to that subject, or to music or sports, for example, and then you'll have to kind of fill out a form and a personal statement to become considered for that scholarship. So it's more about kind of recognising that academic success or the kind of ability in certain areas, and you get rewarded for that. This is a photo taken from March this year, just before lockdown, of all of the people that received a scholarship on that year. And they have, as well as receiving a nice amount of money, they also get to go to a really kind of prestigious evening to celebrate their success as well. So definitely worth having a look to see if there's any that apply to you. To compare bursaries to scholarships, so now we're looking at bursaries. Bursaries are usually given to you automatically, whereas those scholarships, as I said, are competitive and you normally have to actually apply for them. Bursaries are slightly more to do with income, so they're income related, depending on your situation. So a bursary, as I said, is another type of free money that you don't have to pay back, but there are criteria for this, and it's often based on your living situation. This is normally, the information that you'll have to fill out is normally straight from UCAS, but there might be extra forms that they will ask you to fill out as well. Some bursaries are paid to you automatically, as I said, from your UCAS application. So theoretically, it should just come to you, straight away. But always worth checking with the universities to make sure that you will definitely be paid for that, and there's nothing else that you need to do. Lastly, we're going to look at earning and saving money. So part-time work is a great way to support yourself, and you can work anywhere on campus in like libraries, cafes, shops. We're going to talk again to Sophia, who's a student ambassador, and she, that's a paid job, and it's brilliant because you're working for the university. They know that the job has to work around your degree. Really, really flexible hours, and something that's not going to take up too much of your time. There's also ways to budget and save money. As I mentioned earlier, there's lots of kind of discount cards and things out there for transport, and there's things like NUS, Uni Day, Student Beans, which Royal Holloway is all part of, to connect you with those best student discounts. And that's not just on clothes, that could be on food, going out, travel, gym memberships, whatever. There's so much out there, and you have to look for those discounts as a student. You will become discount savvy, because you find the ways of earning that money and then saving it. And in terms of saving money, again, do have a look out for kind of student bank accounts. There's lots of different ways to support you there, being a student. Okay, so we're now going to have our kind of last part of the webinar, chatting to Sophia about her kind of opinions on affordability and student finance specifically. So Sophia, I'm going to unmute you again. So Sophia, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and then we'll get on to the final questions at the end. So Sophia, do you manage to live on a student budget?
Well, you would hope so, since I'm here talking to you guys today. It's definitely been a bit of a change, as it's an odd feeling, having to have that much responsibility over your finances. But I suppose it's a lot of power as well, because you can decide on how to spend your money, and that way you really find out what's important to you in terms of whether you can allow yourself to buy loads of cups of coffee, or whether you want to get your eyelashes done 2 weeks like my housemate. So yeah, you learn to deal with all of those things and factor them in to the way you want to spend your money.
Absolutely, thank you very much. And do you have enough money from your loans?
So my loans do help me cover a lot of all like the necessities. And I suppose it is different from person to person, because it depends how much luxury you want in your life. But it covers my necessities, and then my job, which I have at the university this year, really helps me with any extra things, like making sure I can join the local gym or take part in other fun activities.
Brilliant. And do you spend or normally save your money?
So I do like to save as much as possible, but I do make sure that I'm having a good time and making the most of this time in my life where I want to go out and enjoy things and try new things as well. So I think the main thing with this is balance, because I would hate to scrimp so much that I have a lot of money saved up for the future, but I'm not living my life right now the way I want to. But I also want to make sure I do have enough for things like traveling when COVID-19 is no longer an issue, and saving towards buying a house. So,
Yeah,
bit of
absolutely. I
both.
think you're right. It's about balance, isn't it? And do you normally kind of, put down an amount where you say, right, every single month I'm going to put away this amount, or is it just depending on the month?
So I do have a few things. So I have different kind of pots, different things that I'm saving up for. And for those specifically, I have a number in my head that I like to put away each month.
Yeah.
But I'm not always worried if I can't meet that number. And obviously I'm extra surprised when I can save a little more.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, definitely. And what else do you do to help you budget?
So I set myself a spending amount each week. So much like I have a bit of an idea of what I want to save each month, I have a weekly budget, especially for things like food. And I try to stick to that as much as possible. There are definitely times where I go over 1 week, but then I always manage to make up for it by spending less elsewhere the next week or within that month. So I always make up for that. And the main thing is I make sure that all my necessities are covered, and then any extra money I earn, I like to split into my savings and fund my treats and fun things.
Mm.
So I do a bit of everything there. I like to keep a spreadsheet where I monitor all of my spending each month. So then I can look at my spending habits and see where I could potentially save more, and get embarrassed about the amount I spend on coffee.
Oh, I feel the pain. I feel the pain, and it sounds like you've got some amazing ideas, especially as a student. You sound like you've got your head, more screwed on than me, to be honest, with budgeting. I love the idea of a spreadsheet. That's brilliant. So, big question, Friday afternoon. Big question here. Do you think that university is worth the money? A question that lots of people will ask.
Definitely. When you think about the cost of university and the idea of loans, it can be really daunting. And it seems like you're dealing with really large numbers. And I did feel that way before I came to uni a bit. But the main thing to remember is that you're paying for an education, but also the environment and the opportunities, which is something you can't really put a price on. And like last year at university, I made so many great contacts, which gave me work experience and even paid work, which I never would have had the opportunity to get had I not been in this environment.
Yeah,
And I've also made so many friends from all across the world, which I wouldn't have otherwise met. So by paying for university and education, you're paying for more than just the degree. And it is a life-changing experience. So it's definitely worth it.
brilliant. So kind of those benefits we talked about earlier in the session, things like the societies and like your student ambassador role and all of those opportunities. Do you think they're worth it?
100%, definitely. It's as I said, the friends, the contacts, and just the experiences, just the fun experience living away from home,
Mm,
um, and the support that you get at uni. It really does help you make the most of the time where you can go try new things and enjoy yourself and not worry too much. It's important to know about the finances and have everything in order so you don't have to stress about it and you can enjoy
absolutely.
yourself.
No, definitely. And I think it's really good life practice, when you're at uni because everyone's in the same boat as you and it's a really good setup for when you're, not a proper adult, you know what I mean, when you're got a job and, potentially renting or looking to buy somewhere. It's really, really, really good life experience. That's fantastic. Sophia, thank you very much. Hopefully you'll hang around for a few minutes if we've got some more questions. I've already seen there's a couple coming through for you, so we'll just get to that in just a minute. So,
Awesome.
let me go on to my last slide here. So let me just mute Sophia just for a second. So kind of to conclude what we've been saying really, the cost of university really shouldn't be a barrier to you going. And I hope that this kind of session has helped you to realise that it can be affordable. Yes, there are some really big numbers thrown around. Let's not deny that, £9,000 it's a lot of money. But if it's an option that you want to pursue, whether you're at school or college, whatever you want to do, you can make it happen. And there's so many different options of support available to you. So if you want to go to uni but you're a bit worried about the cost, there are lots and lots of things to help you. Don't let it put you off. Okay.